What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about The Silent Hour. I think that means I have to talk silently for an entire hour. I shouldn't whisper because I'm not using a microphone, but The Silent Hour. It's an action movie, and it's actually directed by Brad Anderson, who I know that that's not like, I didn't just say like directed by Christopher Nolan, but his work's actually not bad. I was actually pretty impressed with his debut feature, Session 9, and then he moved into The Machinist. So, while he may not have quite the household acclaim, maybe one of the reasons why this movie isn't awful, because it could be. Could have been. It does have audio description, so I rented this. It's Republic Pictures, which I need to remind myself is just Paramount's version of saying did not go to theaters. Where is it going to go? Who knows? I don't know. Does anyone? I don't know. But I don't know where these films go. I don't. But because they don't seem to end up on Paramount Plus, like consistently enough. So who knows? But I have an important question for Joel Kinnaman. How, like, why does he keep getting do you think he asked himself, like, because this is so close in proximity to last year's uh film that he just made where he was deaf? Like, was his agent looking for these roles for him? Was he like, that's weird, why do people keep offering me roles where I'm deaf? But he's back again after John Woo just cast him last year in Silent Night. Um, so there you go. Uh, he's he can hear a little bit. He has hearing aids, so the film establishes him. He basically like has an opening sequence that explains how he loses his hearing loss, and he's a cop, and what that's like, and he has some realistic hot takes with his doctor about like, you should. And I was like, dude, I've had those talks about my vision, and now I'm where I am. So totally get that from his perspective. But it's weird to watch. Like, it wasn't even a year ago that I just watched a movie with Joel Kinnaman playing somebody who was deaf and using sign language, and like in with action sequences where like we're getting it from his perspective, so we can't hear anything. Now, not, the whole film isn't like that because it jumps around between actors like Mekhi Phifer and Mark Strong, who are in this because Mark Strong is in everything now. He's in The Penguin, he's in Dune Prophecy, he's ubiquitous. Uh, he's, I don't know, if you look hard enough, he's probably in Wicked. It's just uncredited role. He just broke in onto the set and just stood in the background and was like, I just need to be in this movie just for a day. Try to achieve. Um, Kinnaman plays the detective that ends up interrogating a witness to a crime who's deaf, but and she's of course upset because she's like, well, I should be provided an actual interpreter, not you, because like Kinnaman is still like learning ASL. He's not like super fluent in it, but he definitely without his hearing aids can't hear anything. So because there are periods of time where he takes them out and um, really like the film is trying to give us that like sound of metal thing where like the sound gets really garbled and you can't really hear anything. So but he does know a little bit of ASL. His daughter's been pushing him to learn ASL. They FaceTime together in ASL. It's really great, good stuff. And he keeps doing this ASL. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, or sorry, I'm an old dog learning new tricks, or something like that. It's cute. And what ends up happening is somebody catches wind that this woman saw something she wasn't supposed to see, so like way too many people are sent to kill her. Like way too many people for this random deaf chick. Like uh so that way it can be interesting for Joel Kinnaman to fight her off, because he does like leave and then go back. So I think if they planned this well enough, I think one person, because it's not because she's deaf, it's because she's has no discernible set of skills in terms of combat. So if you send somebody who does versus somebody who doesn't, theoretically should have been over. But it does kind of feel like there's a lot of people here, and it is like this apartment complex thing. There's a lot of people in this apartment complex, and or not really. It's kind of a shantytownish thing where he asks her like, who else is in here, and she's like listing the people, and she's like, is there anybody else on your floor? No. Like, damn, like where the fuck do you live? Anyway, um, for people who are saying there's a housing crisis, well, there's not in this department. There's just apartments everywhere. Uh, but yeah, it's gonna do what you think it's gonna do. It's gonna play with, how they can and can't hear, and how they have to outwit and outsmart, and yep, it's pretty predictable after that. But it's one of those films that could have been pretty crappy. Like Aaron Eckhart, I don't know what happened to his career. That dude needs to start saying no to films, because every single film he does looks exactly the same as the last film. Almost like he's on a continuous set, and they just keep rotating like people around him, and he just keeps making the same generic action spy movie over and over and over and over and over and over. And he's trapped in hell. Like, he can't get out of it. Like, look at Aaron Eckhart's career. It's insane. That dude needs a limited series on a streaming service so bad. He needs to be pulled. He's stuck. I don't know what's happened to Aaron. We have let him down. But Kinnaman over here is, I guess, gonna do a bunch of deaf action movies. Is his thing now. This is his vibe. Um, Kudos to audio description. I love the audio description here, again, because it translated all the ASL, and that was helpful. Also facial expressions and stuff like that, and there are scenes where they do the sound from their perspective, so you can't really hear anything, but obviously you can see things, and you can see that somebody's like sneaking up. So a lot of the visual cues are actually transcribed into the audio description, or they transpired. I don't know. One of two things. I don't know how they would transpire into the audio description, but they did. They did that too. They did both. They transpired and transcribed themselves into the audio description. The action is pretty good, although if we're being honest, while I think the film is better as a film, Silent Night was John Woo doing an action film. So, of course, the action sequences in that are going to be more creative and over the top, because that's just his genre. That's where he lives and breathes. Brad Anderson is sort of more capable outside of the action genre. So this one balances a little bit more of story, plot, character, the kind of things that you would expect from a movie that Silent Night didn't really have. Sort of devoid of, where who are these other people that are in the, I don't know, like it was a gimmick, it was a gimmick movie. But yeah, so it's sort of it's a coin toss on what you want from Joel Kinnaman. Personally, I love him in For All Mankind. Like, if you watch For All Mankind, he's great in that. I think he should have been nominated for an Emmy by now, but for some reason Emmy voters aren't watching For All Mankind. I don't know why. It's on Apple. You're watching everything else is on Apple. So I don't know. He's had some really great work on that show, and obviously a long time ago on The Killing. So, but he does kind of the same thing here that you would expect him to do from if you had just seen him do this exact same thing last year. So, pretty predictable film from where it goes. Mekhi Phifer and Mark Strong's careers, I guess, are kind of treading water as well. But you could do worse. I think Brad Anderson kind of makes this sort of what could have been sort of a cheap action movie work on some level, whereas John Woo's film should have worked better, but it didn't really. You know, I'm gonna give The Silent Hour a C plus. I'll give it the same grade. There's some trade-offs, basically like the same movie. So if you want to do like a double feature, there you go. There's a perfect double feature setup of Joel Kinnaman in 2 films within a 12-month span that are very similar in nature. Have definitely a connective tissue to them. But I don't think the world really ever needs either one of them. But I've definitely seen worse action movies, generally starring Aaron Eckhart. But we also had like Trigger Warning this year, where they tried to make Jessica Alba into like an action star. So I mean, you could definitely do worse in terms of action movies. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.